Well, as if this round wasn't as chaotic enough as it is, we've had another keeper go down injured this week, and the best premium on the board and the most picked up player this round pumps out his worst score of the year. So, yeah, that's round 18 for you. It was always looming to be a troublesome round, and yeah, it looks like it's going to be even worse, potentially. Ryan Pappenhausen out, just calf tightness at this stage, but yeah, like he's definitely out this week, which is the most important round for him. He's like a borderline keeper, so you really wanted him for this round. I think he's worth keeping. At this stage, he's only out for 1 week. He is underpriced. I think he's priced at 44. No, where is it? No, where is he? There we go. He's priced at 44. He's averaging 48.2. I don't think he gets in the top 5 keepers by end of season. He does always have that injury risk, but I think it's with a 1 week injury, we're all short on trades. You can't really afford to trade him. So yeah, I just keep him unless you can upgrade to like a Tedesco or Drinkwater this week. And Drinky's like 50-50 whether I do that or not. But Tedesco, I think that's a pretty no-brainer because he is a bona fide keeper. Drinky, I consider a keeper, but yeah, I mean, he's on the same sort of path as Pappy at the moment. I've talked a few times about how fantasy is luck as well as skill, but yeah, luck is a massive factor. I guess it's sort of like poker, I guess. But last week, when Couchman got his 18, his 19, sorry, which was lucky enough for me because I drunkenly switched him and Duncan as my loop option. So that was firstly lucky enough as it is. I then traded Eli Katoa in for a 66 for Hugo Savala, which was, yeah, it was just a points grab. I knew it wasn't the smartest trade to make, but I actually wanted Ryan Pappenhausen instead of Katoa, but then realised that it wouldn't have worked because Pappy would have come up here and I wouldn't have got Garrick's score and I would have got Couchman's score. But I literally realised that 5 minutes before the game and I was like frantically checking the rules. So yeah, I wanted Pappy. I could have got him. Instead, I get Katoa instead of Preston as well, who I would have got this week, absolutely. Like, he was 100% coming into my team, but since I got Eli Katoa last week, I didn't get him. So I get the 66 points instead of Couchman's 19, which is good enough as is. Like, that's a 47-point swing. I also miss out on Pappy's 30-something last week, who also misses this week. I miss out on Preston's 29 this week, so I just need Eli Katoa to beat him, essentially. And then it's just, the trade-off is this week I get Latu Fainu's score instead of Hugo Savala. So, yeah, at this stage, I've come out of that incredibly well, and I put it down to 99% luck there. Like, none of that was in my plan, but I've come out of it super well. And, yeah, that's just things like, I plan my team with, like, safety loops and stuff every week for this exact circumstance, but the process always changes. Like, you have to, like, it changes by each game, each score you see, and none of that was in my plan. So, yeah, super lucky on my end. Preston was the most picked up last night. I think it was 19.1%. So I did actually think it would be a little bit higher than that, but I guess no one really needed an edge. We saw like Karapani was 10.9% picked up, who is obviously a significantly worse option, but it just goes to show how much we needed centres and winger fullbacks this week, especially with Pappy out now as well. But yeah, the options were pretty lackluster. So Tommy Turbo will probably go up to 20+%. Teddy probably about the same, but I think he's already 70% owned or something similar. But yeah, like Nwangani Tawase is not a keeper. He's probably like a 5% chance of actually becoming a keeper. Maybe that's a little bit harsh, but in terms of like, you got Herbie Farnworth, Dylan Lucas in centres alone, and then Fermor is probably slightly above that as well. And then winger fullback, he's probably not even in the top 10. So yeah, like it just shows how desperate people are for outside backs this week. And yeah, I guess when you see Jack Bird 10+% owned when he's got an injury risk as well, says all you need to know really. But yeah, Preston obviously didn't work out. Karapani wasn't too bad. We'll get into that game in a second. But yeah, obviously Couchman, the biggest drop this week, with 44% trading him out just based on that massive injury. And yeah, I'm surprised King Tongi is 7.6% traded out, which will probably increase as well. But I guess it makes sense with Latu Fainu, Hugo Savala, Jerome Hughes. No one really needs that. I mean, I would probably recommend keeping him as a loop option tonight because they play in the first game, but if that doesn't fit your team, then that's totally fine. Like, I do see the value in trading him out anyway. Looks like people have used just one trade so far. I think that was 4.8 coming into the round. So, yeah, that will continue to grow. It probably goes down to about 3. There's about 730 teams in the top 1,000 with 5 or less trades at the moment. I'll probably get down to 5 after tonight. I did want Pappy this week if Jed Stewart scored poorly, but that probably pivots to Tommy Turbo now. But I anticipate being on 5 or 4 trades after this round, depending on how my loop options go. But yeah, I've got 6 currently, and that's in the top 27% in the top 1,000. So I'm in a pretty strong spot there. My team construction's good. Looking at these green dots, that is pretty crazy. Like, it's only 0.5%, but 7 this week? That is crazy. Like, I guess it goes to show teams in the top 1,000 aren't always prepping for the bye round. They're not always the most serious players. They might... Yeah, there are some casuals in the top 1,000 that have got lucky or just were targeting the start of the season, just using all their trades and stuff like that, because we've got 90 teams on 0 trades. So, yeah, I think... I am kind of expecting a push over the next couple of weeks. Given that, that's actually a little bit weaker than I thought it would be. Most people have 13 already, which will significantly increase as the round goes on. I expect that to get to 60, 70%, but maybe even higher. But that's still a lot of teams that aren't fielding a full 13 this week, which is pretty crazy to see. And if that goes up to 60, 70, 80%, it means this average trade count's going to go down to below 3, you'd have to imagine. So, yeah, I'm actually really pleased with that data. I didn't expect it to be that strong. That weak, sorry, I guess. So, yeah, I'm actually really pleased with where my team's at. It sort of makes that, especially with Preston scoring badly, it kind of makes me want to not get a centre in this week. But having said that, I do think Nick Sagranis plays... Let me get this team list up. I'll show you Nick Sagranis' stats first in reserve grade in the back row, which I expect him to come into. He's played 3 games, playing 80 minutes, and averages 46, and that's 40.6 in base. Like, that is crazy. Really good stuff there. And if he's playing the back row, it's even better than what I was hoping for with him starting at centre. So, yeah, this team list is shocking. Like, what the fuck is Shane Flanagan doing? If he rolls out with this team, he deserves to be fired on the spot. Michael Molo in the second row, when you've got 2 second rowers in your 18th and 19th man at the moment. Like, yeah, they're fresh. Like, this guy, I don't know how to pronounce that. I've never seen his name before, but I was looking at Dragon's Twitter last night and people are raving about him. But yeah, he's fresh. It's probably not the best game to blood him against a heavy Raiders pack. But Nick Sagranis was awesome in centre when he played a couple of weeks back. And he's a second row by trade. Like, he's not even a centre. So I think this is the perfect game for him to come in. Like, what are we doing? Michael Molo at second row. That has to be a smokescreen. Like, I can't imagine that happens in any way, shape, or form. Even if Sagranis is on the bench, I'd probably pick him up because I would expect him to play 55 minutes. He probably misses the first 25, then comes on. Like, what are we doing? If Michael Molo starts there's no way he's playing 80. And there's no... edge is here. I don't think Fafita is an edge. I know he's a mid. I'll see what is played in reserve grade, but obviously I'm not too familiar with these Dragons boys, but he's played a couple of games on the back row, so maybe he does start, but Michael Molo, what are we doing? So yeah, I fully expect Sagranis to come into the team, and yeah, if he's starting, he's 100% coming into my team. If he's on the bench, I'll look at the construction. I don't want him and Fafita both on the bench because that will probably limit his minutes a bit. But if Fafita drops off maybe and Sagranis is on the bench with Michael Molo starting, I'm almost certainly bring him in as well. I won't be able to get an update out. I usually put a post out with my updated trade plans during the week, but it'll be an hour before kickoff. So yeah, there's not much point. But just know that if Sagranis is starting, he's coming into my team instead of like a Jack Bird or whoever I was thinking about. That's about it. We'll get into the game last night. Not the most high quality game. Obviously, there were a few Origin boys missing, stuff like that, but it was a cool game. Bulldogs got out to an 18-0 lead, and they probably should have been up by more. They only had 1 line break. Like, all their tries were off kicks, or 2 of them were, and like really weird tries. So the tries weren't the best, but yeah, they were dominant. They had like 60% possession for the first 50 minutes. And then I don't know what happened to the Broncos. They just came out of nowhere. What's his name? Lucky Galvin put a pass to Kikau, who dropped it. And then they made like a 60-metre break and then scored 2 plays later, or maybe even the next play, through, what's his name? Karapani. So that really shifted momentum. And then they just went on with it from there. And even at 18-6, you sort of saw it coming. You probably still had Bulldogs big favourites at that stage, but as soon as it got to 18-12, like the Broncos were just up for it. The Bulldogs looked defeated. Even the Broncos coach was like jumping up and down when they got it to 18-12, and I mean that's a pretty good sign that something's changed. Because you see Craig Bellamy when their team's up 50-0 and he'll be swearing his head off. So, yeah, I mean, the Broncos had the momentum and they managed to go on with it. And then when they hit the front, like, it was never going to change. Sorry, had a work email come through. Not the best game for fantasy. I had no players last night, and I'm not mad about that at all. We alluded to Preston scoring badly, and we'll get into that in a sec. But in terms of the good scores, Viliami Kikau with a 58. And, he continues to be great. Had a few guys comment that he has been performing at keeper level when I said in one of these recaps that he hadn't been quite that level, but he's just gone on with it since then. A few of you guys have him, which is cool. And a 58 in this one is really good. The base is decently strong with 37 in base, but he's got those offloads in him. I think this is one of his worst offloading games in a while, and 2 to hand and 1 to the ground is pretty good effort. So you'll absolutely take a 58 there with a try, but I mean, it wasn't a massive try. I think it was a 10, 11 point try. So even without that, that's a 47. So really strong there. Reid Marnie with a 48. So we did see Galvin move to 5/8 in this one, Burden to the centres, and then Reid Marnie gets his 80 minutes here. This is why I didn't like any of this spine. They're going to chop and change it a few times. They did allude to Burden moving to centres when Galvin signed. I think it only happened in this one because Crichton's out with Origin. It can't continue. Galvin was shocking. They can't keep changing their spine this much to accommodate for Lockie Galvin. I get it. He's a great up-and-coming player. He's on a lot of money. They did a lot to get him. He was terrible. He only had 1 error, I think, when I checked last night. But about 4 or 5 passes were terrible that led to knock-ons, directly to knock-ons. But he just doesn't get him because it's whoever touches the ball last in fantasy. But shocking. He was shocking. I would expect Burden to come back into the 5/8 position next week, and then Marnie probably goes back to that split role if they have Galvin on the bench. So 80 minutes in this one, but I can't imagine it continues every week. Nothing bad with his score. He finally got more fantasy points than tackles, which is good to see, but I don't think he plays 80 every week. And obviously this was the last major buy round, so you're going to move on to those keepers now. Toby Sexton with a 46, and he continues to be good in real life, half decent in fantasy, but I feel bad for the bloke. I'm glad he signed a pretty big contract in the UK, I believe it was, for Catalan, because he doesn't deserve to be treated this way. He's really revived his career. He was good at the Titans when he first started out. I think he had 1 decent season and then sort of fell off a cliff and then bounced around a little bit. But he's been awesome this year, to be honest, in terms of what Toby Sexton can be. Obviously, that Bulldogs pack and them going well helps him. But I think he's been really good, and I hope he crushes it over there. Matt Burden with a 39. So he was dominating the kicking early. Obviously, they had a lot of possession. A lot of those sets were from their own line. So there wasn't a massive kick meter game, but it was quite evenly split across. He still dominated that from centre, which is a good sign for things to come if he moves back to 5/8. And he is underpriced. I think he's priced at 43 or something, averaging 50 in 5/8. So a little bit of interest, but he's not one of those premiums. Lockie Galvin with a 35. When I saw this switch, I was actually kind of jealous because I had no way of getting a half in. I wasn't going to go Couchman to Galvin when I have 2 halves already and I need other positions. But I thought he'd be great. He averaged 49 last year with about 150 kick meters. So I figured if those kick meters stay, which they probably will when they have a few kickers in the team, because I did think Burden would kick a little bit. Not the dominant kicker, but I thought he'd get about 100 or so. I thought Galvin, his path to 50-plus scores were possible from now on. He's very underpriced, even with the 53 break even. But he was terrible, and I fully expect him to go back to the bench now. So glad I couldn't fit him in. I guess another one of those lucky things, because I was honestly even trying to figure out if there was any way I could get him in last night in that last hour. But glad I couldn't. And Ari Chihuahua with a 33, so he was 300k, I believe, and a centre option that I was somewhat considering, given how shit they all are this week. A 33 is not too bad if you did roll the dice there. Bailey Hayward was the one who moved back to the bench. Jake Turpin started at lock, which is weird, but he did right in his first stint. But yeah, Bailey Hayward, this is about what he scores at lock anyway. His points per minute hasn't been great. His minutes have been solid, but yeah, not the best score. There was a bit of interest in him in round 12, 13, but yeah, I never really had too much. Curran back to the bench as well with a 31. And yeah, Jacob Preston with a 29. So super disappointing. I think his second lowest score this season was 42. So this is not the round you want him to score terrible. He was about, 20% owned? Yeah, 26 to 22% owned and then picked up by another 19%. So only about half of you guys have him, but a 29 is terrible. And yeah, hopefully you managed to avoid him. He was the best premium on the board. Yeah, the process is right. It just didn't work out, and I would have absolutely got him in. He will start to bleed a little bit of money now, which is okay if you don't have him. He honestly could get down to 700k, which is really enticing. Yeah, obviously, if you already have him, just stick with him. There's nothing concerning about it. The only concerning part is he got like a 4-week suspension for a crusher tackle at the start of the season because he had a few demerits already on his thing. I don't know if he just hates Ezra Mann, which is completely understandable, but he was diving at him every time, like so late after he kicked it or passed it. There was 3 or 4. He didn't get pulled up for it or anything, but it's a little bit scary as an owner, if you did own him, that he does have that suspension history and any sort of half demerit. If he's on report, he's probably getting a suspension, which is probably something to consider with him. Yeah, there's nothing coming out of the judiciary tonight from last night or anything. There's nothing to be concerned from that game, but yeah, you just got to be cautious of that. If there's any high tackle, crusher, motion, attacking the legs, anything like that, he probably gets a 2 to 3 week suspension just because of his history. So yeah, just something to note. Jake Turpin started at lock, and yeah, I was actually kind of jealous because Tristan Hope was the cash down hooker of the week, but Turpin's 240k, and he started out going a point a minute for the first 25 minutes, but then just never came back on after that. So, yeah, didn't work out too well for him. I swear I saw him in the second half as well, late in the game. He had a 30-minute first half stint and then never came back. So I don't know if I was just seeing things or whatever, but there was also no updates from this game. I always screenshot it straight after the game when those top performer stats come out on the NRL app, where it shows meters gained, tackles, because then I know when updates come in 2 hours later or whatever, I can just check it, and then if the meters gained or the tackle counts have changed, then updates have come in, and they're still the same as they were straight after the game. No one's really changed score that I can see, so I don't know if we're getting updates for this game or they've already come and I just have missed something, or they've just been minor changes, but everyone I can see is on the same score, so don't know what's going on there, but yeah, maybe Turpin goes up. So his minutes goes up because I swear I saw him out there. So don't know. That's a funny one. Yeah, the scores are always weird. But yeah, over to the Broncos side, Xavier Willison was incredible. So I did talk about him in my trade target video. I didn't love him as an option because it was only a 1 week, potentially 2 week runway if Haas if Haas is out next week. Sorry. But his scores are really good when he starts at prop. I think he averaged 50 to 55 or something like that. It was only a 4-game sample size, but the minutes were about 50 to 55 as well. So he was going above a point per minute. And yeah, he went above a point per minute in 68 minutes last night. If I knew he was playing 68 minutes, I still wouldn't have got him because I would have wanted Blake Steep instead. And I just had no path to a middle edge this week. But yeah, he was always going to score well if we knew those minutes were coming. But it just, yeah, how could we have known that? He played the first 25-ish minutes and then came off for Brendan Piakura, who passed his HIA. And then he came back on 12 minutes later because they were just getting destroyed in the middle and then played on. There is a path to him being fantasy relevant if he starts at prop moving forward. Not this year, but over the next coming years because, yeah, I mean, he's clearly got the motor. He didn't look too gassed at all, especially considering how much work he did. 63 in base is fucked. And yeah, he's such a big build. He's sort of like a Payne Haas build, but a little bit leaner. And yeah, he just looked awesome out there. So really cool to see. I don't think anyone pulled the trigger on him because, yeah, it's just an awkward one. But yeah, he was awesome. Kobe Hetherington, so yeah, he was another one who was obviously going to get a minutes boost, but his data was pretty shocking. But this one was one of his better games with a 57. Kozewski, yeah, unfortunate news. I think his dad passed away this week, or his mum, and he's already lost the other one. So yeah, really unfortunate. I was glad to see him score well after that because, yeah, that's not great news. Yeah, not great at all. I don't know if I talked about this in yesterday's video as well, but I don't know if we have any football fans out there, but Diogo Jota passed away the other day, which is really sad. He just got married like 2 weeks ago as well. So yeah, really unfortunate news. Not trying to put it down on this video, but yeah, just wanted to mention it because, yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive football fan, but I mean, I play EPL fantasy and he was in my team a little bit. So, I mean, it was cool to see him do well this year, but yeah, really unfortunate that that news of him and his brother passing away. His brother, I think it was, yeah. So just terrible news. Just Josiah Karapani with a 36. So yeah, good score. Great score, to be honest, in this sort of round in the centres. I mean, he scored a 17-point try, so it was 19 without that. He was on about 11 with 25 or 30 to go. So it was looking good for me as a non-owner, especially when he was like 10% picked up, but got that 17-point try. So yeah, he got 19 without that, including 2 turnover tackles. So one of them was late with like the last minute where he absolutely whacked Jacob Preston for an error. But yeah, I mean, 11 without the turnover tackles and try is pretty bad. But he's a winger. He's going to score tries, right? Wingers do actually get quite a few turnover tackles. I mean, 3 tackles for 2 turnover tackles is Savelio Tamale level. But yeah, like they're going to get turnover tackles. They're going to get tries. So it's just part of the fun, and this one was one of his better, not one of his better weeks, but it was a decent score in the end, given those things happened. Tony Staggs with a 31. So yeah, he has been on fire lately, but not one of his best games. And it was cool to see Ben Talty debut last night. Probably not. Oh, actually, it was good circumstances because they won in the end. So yeah, that's it from that one. I won't. Yeah, not much else going on. Keen to see that Sagrinus news. I'm hoping he plays edge because, yeah, he'll sort out all my problems. But good luck this round. Probably have a video out either tonight or tomorrow morning, just recapping these 2 games tonight. So, yeah, good luck. Enjoy. Hopefully the scores are better and there's not as much chaos, even though I kind of like the chaos. See ya.